Yesterday we saw this map which is changing, which tells us about the spread and extent of the Roman Empire throughout the centuries. Starting off with, you saw that it starts with what year does it start? Minus 510. Before Common Era, 510 in the 6th century. Starts from Rome as a city-state and then spreads around the Mediterranean Sea, the Roman Empire. And eventually we saw that as we go along, the 5th century, that is minus 6th century, 510, and after about 1,000 years, this splits into two parts, Eastern and Western Roman Empire, and then eventually by the year 1453, we see that this Roman Empire ends with the fall of Constantinople. You'll see it in the map now, around 1453. See? Here. 1453, the entire Roman Empire ends. Now, why is that important for us? It's important because, as you can see from the map of Europe, it had spread across most parts of Western and Central as well as Eastern Europe and other parts as well. You know that it had spread in the northern parts of Africa as well. So, see here, for example, in the 1st century and first 4-5 centuries of the Common Era, you have a feeling of kind of unity in the people who are living in Europe, that we all are subjects or we all are citizens of what is called as the Roman Empire. So Europe, as you know, is a huge area wherein people speak different languages, but because of this administrative and political somewhat unity, what happened was that people started feeling affinity, people started feeling some kind of a bond between all those people who belong to the land of Europe. So this feeling of unity, feeling of having common interests is something that leads eventually in the 19th century to the feeling of nationalism. But for this period, we can say that this political and administrative coming together helped them in exchanging ideas much more easily as against people, for example, in India and China. We never were a part of the same empire, and the languages were also different, and we didn't have any unifying language, and hence India and China, we don't have, for example, the way, for example, England and France, even if they have enmity, they have exchange of ideas. But in these parts, in South Asia, that has not been possible as far as India and China is concerned. So Roman Empire is important because it acted as a agent to bring people together, offer them possibilities of exchange of ideas. Okay. With this background, we'll go ahead and jump on to the phenomenon or a chain of events that is called as Renaissance. This chain of events called as Renaissance is something that happened in the 14th to 17th century Europe. So even if we started off with taking a look at the Roman Empire, we are now going to see about something that happened after the fall of the Roman Empire, 14th to 17th century. So why did we take a look at the Roman Empire? Because things that happened after the fall of the Roman Empire are important to study this intellectual history of the modern world. Hence, the little background without any politics, without any whoever was the emperor, what was the system. We don't go into those details, but I just showed you the extent, the geographical extent of the Roman Empire. Okay, the meaning of the word Renaissance. So you will say, okay, you are speaking of the phenomenon, but what does it really mean? And yesterday, Aniket also asked a question about the specific terms which are used for Renaissance, Reformation, Enlightenment. Many a times, people when we are speaking just layman's language or language of the bazaar, we don't make too much of a difference between Reformation, Enlightenment, Renaissance. We simply use these terms loosely to mean bringing about of new ideas, something that means reformulation of things or something which brings about new ways of thinking, so on and so forth. But for us, these three are separate events, separate phenomena, separate revolutions, as it were, in the field of ideology that happened. And hence, it's quite important for us to know what is the exact meaning of the word Renaissance. If you've gone to a hospital where babies are born, you'll find that there is a special room called as neonatal ward. Have you seen that somewhere? When somebody has a little baby, the newborn babies are kept in a ward called as neonatal or postnatal care, something like that. Have you heard of these words? Neonatal, postnatal?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is natal then? Postnatal, prenatal, neonatal. What is natal? Or for example, the word for Christmas is also Natal. Hmm? In AT, that is the root of a word, root of a verb, which means being born, getting birth. So, rinascimento is the Italian word which is used to mean rebirth of something. So, Renaissance is rebirth, Punar Ujjivan in Marathi. Renaissance is rinascimento. Okay, so rebirth of what? That is the question. Rebirth of what? Renaissance is a rebirth of the ideas, the value systems, the manifestations in terms of art, in terms of literature, of something that happened during the Greco-Roman Empire. That is the importance of the Roman Empire that I showed you. So what happened was around the 14th, between the 14th and the 17th centuries in Europe, what happened was people started feeling that we need to revive, we need to resuscitate, give rebirth to great things that our ancestors have done. Like if, for example, in India, you have in the 19th century people arguing go back to the Vedas because Vedas, that was the period that was supposedly a great period. So we have to go back and revive that kind of a ambience. That was the idea. Similarly, here in Europe, 14th to 17th century, people started feeling that there was a need to rejuvenate, give rebirth to something that happened during the Greco-Roman Empire. Okay, so what is so great during the Greco-Roman Empire which needs to be revived? If you ask such a question, then the answer will be Greco-Roman culture. The empire was great in terms of art, in terms of sculpture, in terms of buildings, in terms of ideologies, in terms of literature. So these things from the Greco-Roman Empire period got a new lease of life. People started remembering them, people started copying them, and people started creating new pieces of art which were rooted in the Greco-Roman period. So Homer's Iliad, Odyssey, or even the thinking, the philosophies of your Plato, Aristotle, then Socrates, all those guys, they got a new lease of life, as it were, during the 14th to the 17th century Europe. And this rebirth of Greco-Roman cultural ideas is called as Renaissance. Renaissance. That is the idea of Renaissance, rebirth of Greek and Roman ideas during 14th to 17th centuries in Europe. Rebirth. What are the reasons for this? Why is it that people suddenly started feeling that they have to rejuvenate these old ideas? The points are here. First and foremost, around the 14th and the 17th, that period, which we call in India, for example, here we call it the medieval period, Mughal period, so on and so forth. But there, of course, it is called as the period of Renaissance. What happened was there was a great deal of expansion of trade between Asia and Europe. You know the time period of your Vasco da Gama, Columbus, all those people. So these guys started finding new ways of reaching out to other countries, which gave a great impetus to trade, and there was a great deal of expansion of trade between Asia and Europe. Also, in Italy, there is an area called as the Tyrol County, and in this area, you will find silver mining got a great boost because of certain technological innovations. People they found silver in this region, and suddenly there was a lot of money available to obviously people who were in control of these mines, the De Medici rich family. The De Medici is the name. There are others, but De Medici are the most prominent. Also, this is a period when, because of the religious and other wars that were happening all across Europe, called as the Crusades, there was people died, yes, of course, but they also traveled a lot for crusades. So there was a great deal of exchange of goods as well as ideas, which led to these people becoming aware that we have a common cultural past and we need to revive it. All these things together, they went on to contribute to what is called as the Renaissance. So how does the Encyclopedia Britannica, EB is Encyclopedia Britannica, how does the Encyclopedia Britannica define Renaissance, the concept of Renaissance? It says that Renaissance denotes a surge of interest in classical learning and values. We've already spoken about this, but this I'm just showing it from the Encyclopedia Britannica. So what is the exact definition of Renaissance according to the encyclopedia? Surge of interest. Suddenly people have become interested in classics. That is the period of the Greco-Roman Empire. Classical learning. I took some names earlier: Homer's Iliad, Odyssey, all these people, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, all those people. Then Renaissance also denotes discovery and exploration of new continents. You know that this Cape of Good Hope phenomenon, all of that, trying to find newer ways of reaching different lands, continents, and substitution of the Copernican for the Ptolemaic system of astronomy. Ptolemaic means a system which was propounded by somebody called as Ptolemy. Ptolemy is also the name of an individual and it's also the name of a dynasty. But here we are speaking of Ptolemaic system, which means who is at the center of the universe and who is revolving around it. Copernicus said that Earth is revolving around the sun. The understanding that we have today is that sun is stationary and Earth is moving around. Earth and many other planets, of course, are moving around the sun. But Copernicus propounded this idea which was not very popular. Up until then, the most popular and most accepted idea was that of Ptolemy. That is, Earth is stationary and Sun, Moon, all the other stars, heavenly bodies as they were called, they move around. So Earth is stationary and those guys move around the Sun. Now Copernicus comes in and he says, no, it's not that Sun is moving. The Sun is stationary at one place and Earth is moving around the Sun along with other planets. These three are the most important aspects of what came to be later called as the Renaissance. We will, of course, be looking at each of these aspects in much more detail, but here we are only dealing with the definition of Renaissance as given by Encyclopedia Britannica. So these three things are the most important features of the idea of Renaissance. That's what one needs to remember. Okay. The picture, if you are online, look up Laocoon, Laocoon, and tell me while I speak in Marathi, who was Laocoon and why is he getting bitten by a snake? Look it up and tell me. Okay, English medium people?
Yes, ma'am, we are doing that.
Okay, great. Now I'll switch on to Marathi. अनुश्री हे एक रेकॉर्डिंग बंद करून दुसरं लावणार का? म्हणजे छोटा पीस होईल असं